Today we're going to continue with a project that I've had ongoing. I think a lot of you are going to like this, judging by views from the other videos I did on this subject. But today we are going to be revisiting my 1.4 gigahertz dual Tualatin rig. Now, I had two kind of upgrade videos I did on this thing, and the first one I upgraded the machine, which is right back here. Can't really see it real well, but if you haven't watched that video, I'd go back and take a look at it. There's an original one where I did an overview of it, very modest specs, and then I did one to see how far we could upgrade it. I put in a full like 1.5 gigahertz of PC133, put in an SSD drive, you know, kind of pimped it out a bit. The big stumbling block that we hit was kind of the video card, and this is what I ended up settling on. I'll talk about why in a second. But I also did another video that you might want to watch, and this was, could it play Crysis? So I ran this machine playing Crysis, and to my surprise, it kind of ran the game. Getting a rough estimate, about like 15 frames per second. Not great, and when you get to a real actiony area, it really bogs down. I would say it's unplayable, but I mean, I guess if you were at a pinch and you really wanted to play the game, I mean, I guess it's kind of impressive at all that it could sort of play it. But I wanted to see, was there anything more I could do to this machine to make it run faster? And the big stumbling block I was coming across was what's in this machine and what it can do and the limitations of its chipset. Now, in that Crysis video, I got a lot of good suggestions for later, more powerful AGP cards. So what we have in this machine is a universal AGP slot, so it can pretty much take any AGP card. Problem is it's ×4. It's not ×8. It's an older board from, you know, 2002, 2003. But yeah, not ×8. So the problem, really, the limiting factor was the chipset, because even though a lot of you made some great suggestions on later AGP cards, I think like the HD 4850, I think there's a 3850, something along those lines, but Radeon made some later AGP cards that were pretty powerful. I had like 1 gig of video RAM on them and stuff. They're pretty powerful cards. Unfortunately, the hang-up with this machine is its chipset cannot support later AGP cards. Any card that uses a AGP to PCI bridge chip will not work. And that's why something like this, which was my first attempt, failed. Now this is the next generation up. This is the 7800 GS. And this is kind of, I think the GeForce 7 series was the last from NVIDIA that went with AGP. But this card would not work. Good bit more powerful than this one, but it wouldn't work. And that's basically because this card and all of the GeForce 7 series use that AGP to PCIe bridge chip. And basically, when I put a card that uses a bridge chip in to this machine, what would happen is you get pretty bad graphical issues. At first, it wouldn't even, like any program I tried to run, it would lock up. I fit it with the BIOS, and the best I could get was pretty bad glitching here. I'll show you a quick video of what would happen with a card that used a bridge chip. Okay, yeah, so pretty much unplayable. So that kind of threw out this card, and even those later Radeon cards, because they also use bridge chips. So that really kind of limited me there. Now the problem is, even cards from the same generation, for instance the GeForce 6 generation, some of them used bridge chips. So not too long ago I came across this guy at a thrift. Pretty cool. This is the same. It's a 6800 Extreme. But not really too much of an upgrade from the OC. Basically, this is exactly the same. same speed as far as I can tell, same memory, everything. The only difference was, other than kind of looking cooler and having like a green light glow to it, it had double the RAM, or memory. The OC was 128, has 128 video memory, and this has 256. Unfortunately, I wasn't real sure about it at the time. Popped this in, had the same problems as I did with the GeForce 7. So even though this was a GeForce 6 series card, it uses a bridge chip. So I had the same problem. So thankfully, I got lucky, and I kept my eyes open on eBay, and I eventually came across this guy. Now this is a GeForce, this is from XFX, this is a GeForce 6, GeForce 6800 Ultra. So this is the top of the line of the GeForce 6 series. So a little bit of a hefty card. Now there are GeForce 6800 Ultras that use a bridge chip, and they have a different core designation. I believe it's NV45 and up. So what I was looking for was ones that we use the original NV40, but thankfully some of the early 6800 Ultras do use the NV40 core, such as this guy here. So this guy works fine, which is nice. Just said it uses, it has its drawbacks. It uses more power. You need 2 Molex connectors as opposed to just one on this guy. But it is significantly more powerful. It has 256 megabytes of video RAM, faster RAM, core clock is faster. This is just a faster card overall. Let's take a look at a side-by-side comparison between this and what I was previously using here, the OC. Alright, so here's basically the specs of both of the cards side by side. I used GPU-Z, and I just took a screenshot of what it was telling me about each card. So on the left we have the 6800 OC that I was originally using, and then on the right we have the 6800 Ultra. And as you can tell, the Ultra is a good step up from the 6800. If we look at GPU, they're both using the NV40 core. That's what we need. If it was higher, I think the next one is NV45 that uses the bridge chip, so it just really wouldn't work. Like shaders, you can see the Ultra has an advantage there. We have memory type, where we have the OC was using DDR, we have GDDR3, and we have double the amount. We have 256 as compared to 128. Using the same drivers, Foursquare 93.71. GPU clock, the OC is clocked at 350 megahertz, where the Ultra is 425, so that's a nice bump there. Now I believe the reference speed of the Ultra is 400, but the XFX is slightly overclocked by 25 megahertz. Now I do believe there was a 450 megahertz version out there somewhere, but I think they're uncommon. And unless one falls into my lap, I'm probably not going to search one out just for an extra 25 megahertz. But yeah, as you can see, the Ultra is a bit of a step up there from the OC. So let's first look at some synthetic benchmarks, then look at some games, and of course Crysis to see if it makes a difference. Alright, so let's take a look at some synthetic benchmarks here. I used 3D Mark 2001 SE as well as 3D Mark 2003, and these are the same benchmarks I used with the previous configuration of the 6800 OC. So with 3D Mark 2001 SE, my best score originally was 9,856 marks. That was with the OC. Now upgrade it with the Ultra, I got 10,346 marks. And now with 3D Mark 2003, I had 7,690 originally, and with the Ultra installed, that went up to 9,885 marks. Alright, so here's the numbers for you to visually look at here. So now we're going to take a look at some games, Doom 3, and then we're going to look at Crysis. A little bit strange results, not exactly what I was expecting. Okay, so here we have Doom 3. I'm running the time demo that's built into the game. Now, at 1024 times 768, I originally got 36.7 frames per second with the OC, but with the Ultra, that actually slightly went down to about 35.9. This was consistent. Now with 1280 times 1024, originally with the OC I had 31.7 FPS. With the Ultra, that did improve to 36.3. So not exactly sure there why the Ultra is performing slightly worse at the lower resolution than the OC. I really can't figure it out. I ran the test several times and I got the same result where it was just running slightly slower. But at a higher resolution, it runs a few frames better than the OC. So a little bit odd there. Not quite sure what's going on. Okay, and now to look at Crysis. I don't know. Also, excuse there. It says there's two GPU scores up there, GPU and GPU2. There's one GPU. I just forgot to remove that, and it's just consistent with the original test, so I didn't mess with Afterburner at all here. But I mean, it runs okay, but it's really not any better than with the OC, despite double the RAM, video RAM. Despite the faster RAM, despite the faster clock speed of the GPU. I mean, at parts it seems to run a little bit better, especially when stuff is going on, like when you're going through the jungle and there's a lot of foliage, or when there's a lot of action going on. Like the game became mostly unplayable when it turned sunrise and you went over that hill and started fighting the North Koreans en masse. It got really unplayable with the OC. It seems to run a little bit better with the Ultra. Maybe 5 or so frames a second better, but in other parts it almost seems like it runs worse. Like this intro here, when you jump out of the airplane, on the OC I didn't have many problems at all, but on the Ultra the frame rate actually seems to be lower, and I get more stuttering, and like it will freeze up. Now it did this with the OC as well, the 6800 OC. There'd be parts where it would lock up, but that mostly happened when you went to that transition of sunrise and went up over the hill to go into the North Korean camp down there, where with this, the Ultra, the lockup seemed to happen a little bit more actually. Like right here you'll see it happening with the skydive. It kind of locks up a couple times. So a little bit weird. I don't know. I want to say overall it's running a little bit better with the Ultra as opposed to there it goes, it locked up, as opposed with the 6800 OC. But it's not really the big results I was kind of hoping. I'm not really sure. I mean, with the GPU scores up there, it doesn't look like it's not utilizing 100%. So I don't know what's going on here. Like I said, the chipset in this was meant as a server board. This wasn't, a gaming Tualatin 1.4 gigahertz. It's not like an Asus gaming motherboard or anything. This was meant for servers. So, the chipset is a little bit limited. I'm not 100% sure what's going on here. If anyone wants to chime in and enlighten me, if anyone has any more suggestions, I believe someone suggested maybe trying a PCI to PCIe converter and then using a much more modern card. Like I've got a 960 here, a GTX 960. But I don't know. I mean, with this chipset and the weird bridge thing, I get the feeling it's not gonna work, just like even the later AGP cards do not work with this chipset and this motherboard. So I get the feeling that a PCI to PCIe converter thing just isn't gonna work. I'm possibly willing to try it though. I don't know how much those things are, but yeah, I mean, like I said, the Ultra seems to help at some points, parts in the game. Overall, maybe, but it's really not super significant. And these are on the lowest settings. I would still call it playable, but like barely playable if you have like nothing else to play it on and you really wanted to play Crysis. I guess that kind of plays it, but I mean, I've only played the beginning. I can imagine later in the game where things pick up, it's just going to become unplayable. So I wouldn't recommend this particular machine to play Crysis, even with a 6800 Ultra. But it was an interesting little adventure, interesting little experiment. So I'll just leave you here with the rest of the video, just kind of showing the game playing on the 6800 Ultra. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section, obviously. thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll have more stuff coming up for you guys, so thanks again.
Careful, Nomad. Enemy contact up ahead.
Over there! Yeah!
Copy. This is Aztec. Copy. I read you. Jester, take care of his equipment and cover our tracks. Nomad, move out to the LZ.
Got it, boss.
Good morning, Prophet. Hold on. I'm seeing movement ahead. Switch to cloak mode. KPA patrol. Deal with them. Nice and quiet.
Open fire!
I see a large transmitting array. That must be the jamming station.
Called in reinforcements. Enemy units headed your way. We're blind here until you find that jammer.